Okay, so Chainsaw Man is pretty good. Okay, so one thing I want to get out there right up front is that I love Chainsaw Man, whether that be the bombastic and over-the-top insanity of the fights, the references to pop culture and inspiration it takes from them, or the beautifully crafted narrative unhinged as it is grounded. It would be an understatement to say that Tatsuki Fujimoto re-envisioned the idea of what shonen is, in less than a couple years after the release of the first volume, becoming one of the best-selling and well-received manga in recent years, and getting its own adaptation by Studio Mappa, the same studio for this, and this. However, when you look at the idea of this wacky, bizarre manga, your first thoughts probably wouldn't be, wow, this is going to be one of the biggest shonen series ever, but that's exactly what it has become, not just influencing the approach other authors took to tell their stories, but inspiring thousands of people to create their own. That's how impactful this manga was, and what I find kind of funny is that in a way, Fujimoto used what inspired him, such as Pulp Fiction, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and other pieces of media, to lay the groundwork for Chainsaw Man. And while yes, some of that recognition and impact was likely due to his previous work Fire Punch and the memes that came out of that, I would argue that the main reason Chainsaw Man became such a big phenomenon in such little time was because Fujimoto did what no sensible person would do and used the most insane concepts he could come up with and implemented them into the story. So yeah, Fujimoto has balls of steel and he knows how to levitate, but that simply doesn't make a story good, and in a way you're right, because as popular as Fujimoto and his work has become, it's also really divisive. If you ask somebody that's read Fire Punch or Chainsaw Man for their thoughts on it, they would say they either loved it, they hated it, or they despised it, but that specific third of the people that would say they loved it, that is the crowd Fujimoto is aiming to please, and he succeeded. But when I look at these people, this community, this adaptation, and even Fujimoto himself, I don't think that's what Chainsaw Man is. I don't hear the words Chainsaw Man and think of these things. Instead, I think of the insane yet subtle story told between 11 comic books. I think of the humanity of Chainsaw Man.
Okay, so I want to say a couple things before wasting however many minutes of your life that you will spend watching this video. For the sake of spoilers and watch time, I'm going to be splitting this video up into two parts. The first part, basically giving a spoiler-free reason on why you should read or watch Chainsaw Man. This is for those who have never really heard about Chainsaw Man and really don't care to, so I'm just gonna try and maybe just reason with you a little bit. This is where the most I will spoil is maybe just a couple plot points here or there, but nothing major. And the second part is where I'll assume you've read up to chapter 97 of the manga. And so if you have watched the anime, or if you haven't really experienced it at all and decide to watch past that, come here. If you've seen the anime and think that you can watch this part, then please let me know in the comments below, as well as your home address, your cell phone number, and your credit card number, so that I can beat the crap out of you. Of course, when we get to spoilers, I'll let you know. Oh, and there's nothing wrong with you if you want Makima to step on you.
The story follows a teenager named Denji, and before I tell you who this guy is, I want to take a look at other standard shonen protagonists because quite frankly, most of them have the same character traits and goals. Naruto wants to be Hokage, Yuji wants to save as many people as possible, Goku wants to be the strongest being in the universe, and Ed wants to get him and his brother's body back. These are goody two-shoes characters that all have anger issues at points. However, Denji's ambitions, all he wants is to live a normal life. Denji's mother died when he was young, and his father took his own life to escape from the money he owed the Yakuza, with that huge amount of debt being forced onto this literal child. The Yakuza telling him that they don't care how he intends to pay off the debt as long as he does, otherwise they'll chop him up into pieces and sell him on the black market. And after a chance encounter with a severely injured devil, Denji makes a contract with him, that he will give the devil his blood to heal, and in turn, the devil will help Denji pay off his debt to the Yakuza. And when it's payday, they find this young boy whose innocence has been ripped away from him over the corpse of a devil, Denji proving his worth as a devil hunter. Denji's life is rough, living off of pieces of bread to survive. His nights spent alone in this cold, empty, and abandoned shack, falling apart by the seams. His entire existence simply to pay back a debt that can never be repaid, his dreams containing a fantasy that will never happen. Denji just wants to live. He wants to sleep in a real bed, he wants to hug a girl, he wants to live a life in which he is happy, and he believes that once he finally pays off that debt, he will be free, even going to extreme measures to reach that freedom sooner, like gouging his eye out or selling one of his nuts for just a little bit of money. Denji isn't even considered human by most people. He's instead called a dog, an obedient creature that does what he is told and nothing more, his value reflecting that of a dog as well. The only friend, family, or anyone he has being this strange creature he named Pochita. And what I find interesting is how even if you strip away all the poverty and desolation surrounding Denji, he still stands out from other shonen protagonists, and that's exactly what happens. Denji is betrayed by the Yakuza after partnering with the zombie devil, murdering him and throwing his corpse into a trash bin. The last thoughts flashing through Denji's mind simply being, I just wanted to live a normal life. He lived as a dog and was put down like one too. However, in the space between death and life, Pochita makes a contract with Denji that he will give him his heart, and in turn, Denji will show Pochita his dreams. And upon awakening, a cord on his chest and a replaced heart, Denji becomes Chainsaw Man, a creature neither human or devil. And so Denji, furious about the fact that he was treated as a dog his entire life, finally allows that rage to spill, murdering the entirety of the Yakuza that made his life a living hell, and the zombie devil that decided to kill him. And for the first time in his entire life, Denji feels free, he feels alive, like he matters and that there's hope for him. Like, just imagine for a moment that all of the joys of life we take for granted, such as a family and a roof over your head, was an impossible dream, one that you know can never happen to somebody like you. And then you find a way to achieve that dream, you find a way to become a normal person. That is the euphoria felt by Denji. He's quickly found by Makima, a public safety devil hunter who was sent to kill the zombie devil, but when she realizes that Denji is also human, she gives him the choice to be put down as a devil or to live as a human. And Denji's first question is, what's for breakfast? Yeah, I find that kinda sad too. Denji is taken into Makima's care, where he will be hired as a devil hunter for the government in Tokyo, a dog of the military used to protect people from devils. And while at first Denji is pessimistic about this, not wanting to owe anyone anything anymore, he quickly begins to accept and appreciate the life laid out for him. He sleeps in a real bed for the first time, he eats actual food, and he is given the freedom in life he always wanted, the only condition being that due to him being a hybrid, he has to work with public safety for the rest of his life, and if he tries to run, he'll be executed as a devil, Denji being forced into an experimental project, Division 4. However, as long as he gets to live this kind of life with these kind of luxuries, he's okay with those conditions. He also wants to date Makima. He barks for her approval too. The power system in Chainsaw Man is simple. The more people fear that respective devil, the stronger it becomes, meaning that these characters are all fighting a battle that they will never be able to truly win, each devil being reincarnated after death. And throughout Denji's time in public safety, he meets Aki, a mature and level-headed individual who lost everything, and Power, the blood devil who took over the corpse of a person, giving her a humanoid look even though she is anything but human. And I want to start with these two characters rather than Makima because one, I can't really get into Makima's character without spoiling stuff, and two, I think Aki and Power are in a way just like Denji. Aki is a devil hunter like Denji that's been on the job for a couple years now. However, instead of having a noble cause like protecting people or simply living the best life he can, he joined for the sole reason of revenge. On the outside, he looks fine, he's quiet and he's financially stable, but on the inside, this is a man filled with sadness and rage, wanting to kill the gun devil, a devil that not only killed his family right in front of him in an instant, but in seconds murdered hundreds of thousands of people in single countries and murdered millions worldwide in only a couple minutes. People like Aki aren't uncommon. Most of them are devil hunters by their own will, however most of them die on the very first day of the job, Aki being one of the few that survived, his violent ambitions driving him to not really have a life outside of being a devil hunter, considering anything outside of coming closer to discovering the gun devil's whereabouts as a waste of time. He doesn't have any friends, he doesn't have anybody to care about, he's in a way alone, just like Denji. But instead of hoping for a better life, all he wants is to be the one to provide justice for his family. Because the only family Aki really has is his partner Himino. And while you could see this as a cold and boring character, I don't see him that way. I see a cold, yes, but emotionless human being that outside of his one goal has nothing to live for, throwing away years of his life willingly to use a weapon that will get him closer to the gun devil. And I think the adaptation pictures this really well. In episode 4, there's a simple 2-minute scene of him waking up, making breakfast, and enjoying a cigarette in an eerie and lonely silence, showing that to this person, the simple joys of life do not matter to him. All that matters to him is bringing justice to the being responsible for taking away everyone he loved. On the complete other side of the spectrum is Power, the Blood Fiend, or in other words, a devil that has taken the corpse of a human. And if I could sum up Power in one sentence, that sentence would simply be the most inhuman, insane, annoying, narcissistic creature on planet Earth. Yeah, Power is the result of what would happen if you took insanity and introduced it to steroids. She is a creature that, while she looks human, is the furthest thing from it, her hating anything warm-blooded and so eccentric to the point of where she kills literally anything without a second thought. The only thing holding her back being the government that she works under, captured and proved useful as a devil hunter, and like Denji, will be executed upon trying to run away. And while you would think Power would be the worst character in the entire series, she's not, surprisingly being a fan favorite. However, like everyone else, Power has a goal. After finding a starved cat, she decides to fatten it up so she can eat it. However, over time, she begins to grow attached to it, feeding it, taking care of it, and even naming it Nyako. Her finally realizing that blood feels good when it's warm too. And then the injured Bat Devil kidnaps the cat, promising its safety and that he will return it if Power finds and gives the Bat Devil, a human so that it can heal. Wow, man, you couldn't keep the thing you care about safe for 1 minute. However, Power, knowing how stupid it is, looks for a way to save Nyako. And it's that foreign feeling of love Power has for this cat that makes it honestly really sweet and wholesome, despite how much of a sociopathic nightmare she is. And while the journey of her trying to get Nyako back ends after only a couple chapters, you begin to understand who this creature is. All of these characters are wildly different from each other, and when put in a room, cannot stand each other, and Fujimoto acknowledges that. The moment Denji and Aki meet, they hate each other. Denji sees Aki as this noble saint boss man that exists to restrain him, and Aki sees Denji as the worthless person he is, disgusted by his dreams or the lack thereof. And so Denji kicks the man in the nuts. What a ballsy move. And when Denji and Power meet, Power sees him as a means necessary to get Nyako back, and Denji sees her as a means to a goal. Okay, so I just want to say that while this panel is the funniest thing ever, this plotline does go somewhere meaningful and healthy, and I've decided to not tell you where this goes so that 1, I can give you an incentive to read Chainsaw Man, and 2, I think the message of how sexual interaction doesn't have much impact without affection for that person is an important message that is really well done in the manga. And while it is a main part of Denji's growth as a character, I'm not making a spoiler-free section of this video to ruin the first fourth of the story for you, so you're just gonna have to take my word for it. These are the characters that the story of Chainsaw Man follows. These broken people that have had the experiences of their past form who they are. And while they are different in many ways, it's the few similarities they share that bring them closer together. And the story itself makes you understand those similarities, Makima having Denji and Power move in with Aki while they simultaneously literally be annoying little gremlins for the man. However, over time, they begin to not only deal with each other but find comfort in one another. Denji and Power play pranks on Aki, and Aki and Denji just confide in each other's differences at points, and it all starts with the subtle little moments between them that bring them closer without them even realizing it at first. Like when Denji and Aki bond over apple slices, Aki allowing Denji to eat the apple if Denji agrees to listen to Aki, then putting some of their differences aside so that they can interact together. These three people create this wholesome little family, one that while not perfect makes each and every person in it feel like they belong, and over time they realize how much they mean to each other. Okay, so up to this point we've touched on multiple things. We've talked about our three main characters and the interactions with each other and how one of them can literally turn into a chainsaw, and it took maybe a little too long to state those two things. But one thing we haven't talked about is the art style Fujimoto uses to bring this world to life. Compared to most manga artists that create detailed, bombastic panels, Fujimoto's work is incredibly simple and rough, and that comes from his lack of experience and age as an artist, being only 30 years old as of writing this. However, instead of this being a con like it sounds, it actually provides this world and these characters a more lively feel to it. Chainsaw Man's world, instead of feeling like another plane of reality, feels similar to our world, and as the story states, and trust me, we'll get to this is a world where bad things happen to good people, and the art style makes you feel this, because while it's more rigid than most manga, it's also infinitely more expressive. Like, take this page of Power going all over the place. Instead of this being 3 separate panels of her observing her surroundings, it's all conveyed through these multiple versions of herself, with lines detailing the fact that she is constantly moving. And just subtle little details like these make this rigid world come to life, and that can be seen in its fights, as while they are great, they are for the most part incredibly short, most fights ending after only a couple chapters. However, that short in length allows some truly bombastic and insane fights to play out, watching characters rip each other to shreds in fluent, authentic, and quick motions that make you feel the power they hold. Like, take a character later on, Quan Chi. She has the ability to move incredibly quick, and this is detailed through you barely being able to make out what is happening and where she is, slicing her opponents up within seconds. Another thing Fujimoto is really good at is allowing creativity to seep into his panels in a way unique to him, and it allows not only for some absolute insane double-page drawings, but it allows the more subtle moments to shine through, not afraid to use multiple pages to convey feelings of sadness, excitement, or dread. Motion and paneling is something Fujimoto mastered to the best of his ability. However, while it's impressive to create movement with this amount of expressiveness and the kind of emotions he is able to with his panels, it's also limited by the fact that these are still images creating the illusion of motion, which is why the anime works so well at points. In the medium of animation, you can go buck wild insanity and do whatever you want, and Chainsaw Man does exactly that. Power's movements don't need the illusion of motion when you can have her move in all these eccentric ways. Aki's Fox ability doesn't need a sense of imagination to understand its speed and strength, you can witness it with your eyes. And this shows in the action set pieces of the anime, not only creating smoother animations and fights, but straight up adding to them. And while you would think it would be noticeable, it actually fits the fight so well you wouldn't realize it unless you compared it shot for shot to the manga. That's how well these moments are added in, and people have already stated that one of the best examples of this was with that 2-minute scene of Aki's morning, but the reason it's so good is because it never happened in the manga. This is an exclusive, major scene that depicts this character with a level of care and ambiance to him. And while I did see the show get a lot of pushback about how this rigid world looks more polished and smooth compared to the manga, I have to disagree. In my opinion, yes, the anime looks much more polished than the manga, but I think the bleak color design and the suppressed tone of this series captures that rough and brutal reality in its own unique way. So if you ask me how you should consume Chainsaw Man, I would say do both. Reading the manga makes you understand this bleak world and the complex characters surrounding it, while the anime makes you feel the impact of these fights as well as having that subtlety play out in a more streamlined way. Experiencing both makes you appreciate each one in their entirety. You can see how well written and exciting the manga is, and you can fully appreciate how monumental of a task it was to animate and how masterfully the team of MAPPA did. And the fact that both part 2 of the manga is being released pretty consistently and the anime will be airing the already complete story of part 1 throughout these next few years, it makes me excited to see where Fujimoto will take these characters and how he will expand on this world, but it also makes me excited to see how the fights of part 1 will play out, like the fight against the Bond Devil, Quan Chi, and the Darkness Devil. But something one can argue is that Chainsaw Man was already animated before the adaptation. Fanbases are a beautiful thing to witness. Just seeing people who all love a certain piece of media come together to talk about the things they enjoy can be such an exhilarating feeling, that sensation being nearly impossible to articulate in a couple of sentences strung together. However, when some of those fans come together to create a passion project based off of the thing they enjoy, that's when something really interesting happens. You begin to see this world of just pure love being reconstructed to form not only something familiar and nostalgic, but something fresh and exciting. And this is something the community surrounding Chainsaw Man has done, not only creating memes surrounding the story, but creating whole animations making the manga feel alive, making the Devils of Chainsaw Man fit into our world with Blender, or creating a whole fan game of a character playing DDR. And looking at this whole landmine of passion projects really changes how you view the entirety of Chainsaw Man, or any piece of media for that matter. I remember finishing all the roots of Undertale and deciding to enter the name on the internet, and when I did, I immediately stumbled into an endless abyss of fan animations, games, alternate realities, and discussions about the game itself. And Chainsaw Man gave me that familiar feeling of staring down a hole of just pure passion. For almost every single moment in Chainsaw Man, there was a fan-made animation to go along with it, each with their own unique style and appearance, my personal favorites being the ones that make the still images of the manga come alive through motion. This is a community not only passionate but talented, and just looking through a fraction of the mind that is this community would take an entire video on its own. And so even if it sounds like I'm not really appreciating the artist of these projects, know that I could very easily talk about how incredible each and every animation, game, drawing, and passion project for hours on end. And if you're curious, all of the fan-made games, animation, and artists are all in the description below. One thing about Chainsaw Man is that while yeah, the characters feel real and human, and the themes of humanity and morality are heavy and quite frankly beautiful to see implemented into the story, I think what a lot of people skip over is just how fun this series is. While it's mature and adult, it's also just a blast to experience, whether that be the scenes where over-the-top adrenaline-filled carnage takes place, or just the scenes of people bonding with each other, like sitting in a movie theater, buying each other ice cream, or even the simple joy of watching these three people sit in a living room and eat dinner, and it all has this energy and charm to it that is hard to encapsulate. There are moments of just pure insanity that at points shouldn't make sense, but they do, and they're brilliant. Like, take this panel. This isn't photoshopped or anything. This is an actual drawing of Denji on top of a shark charging into battle against a devil. It is bonkers, it is insane, and it is absolutely lovely to watch. And there are just so many moments like this that should not work, but do, just because of the world the story takes place in and the circumstances that revolve around them. Chainsaw Man is the type of story that in one moment can have you laugh out loud because of the intentional absurdity of all of it, and the next feel something impactful and real. And Fujimoto manages to balance both of those emotions in a way I haven't really seen before, which feels strange and bizarre, but that's the way he writes things. And I honestly think that's pretty wholesome to think about, that in the moments of desolation and sadness, he's able to let himself go and make something hysterical, bonkers, and fun. Okay, so I made my case. There are a ton of things about Chainsaw Man that I love, and I could talk about each and every single moment in detail and why you should care, but the fact is, I don't want to ruin this story for you. This is a narrative that is best consumed knowing as little as possible, and while you might be thinking I gave away a ton of the story, I really didn't, I promise you. Chainsaw Man is a piece of media that I experienced out of sheer curiosity, and it ended up becoming one of my favorite things I experienced last year, and I honestly hope that whether it be watching the anime, reading the manga, or taking my advice and experiencing both, I managed to convince you to give this incredibly bombastic and quite frankly beautiful series a try. Friendly strangers on the internet, that is why you should want Makima to step on you. When we first meet Himino, she is simply introduced as Aki's partner and his only real shoulder he has to lean on. However, throughout the course of the story, Denji, as well as you, the reader, become attached to her. She's lost nearly everyone she loves, and like Aki, doesn't really necessarily have a motive except to kill the gun devil. However, over time, she finds a new goal in life: to move on and spend the rest of her life with the few people she has left. One of those people being Aki, hoping to convince him to quit so that they can continue life together. And throughout the story, Fujimoto manages to create this messy and complicated character that has flaws but is a genuinely good person, minus some quality. And in a flashback, the first time Himino and Aki meet, you think maybe this person will help Aki learn to be more human rather than a soulless being with a motive. The first word she says to him being the simple phrase, "Don't die on me." And throughout a series of flashbacks, you begin to see how Himino has changed Aki. Aki being able to down tons of alcohol at parties, him slowly learning to form a human connection, him picking up smoking because lung cancer is cool. All of these aspects of himself are because Himino showed him that even with the traumatic experiences of his youth, he can learn to live. And the more time you spend with this character, the more human she becomes, and the more human Aki becomes because of her. Himino is a fun person to be around all in all, but more importantly, she is a beacon of hope in Aki's life. And then that beacon dies. After an attack from the Katana Devil, Himino is forced to sacrifice herself to the Ghost Devil to save Aki, disappearing limb after limb until the only sign she ever existed is her eye patch laying on the concrete. The first genuine person you meet in this story is taken from you in an instant. And like the characters, you don't have the time to comprehend it until the whole ordeal is behind them. After the attack, most of Division 4 is dead, and while there wasn't a lot of time you were able to spend with them, you still feel empty afterwards. And the story makes you understand the loss too. Aki waking up in the hospital, realizing that the only person that ever really cared about him is gone. Him breaking down and crying, knowing that he will never have a human connection like he did with her again. Most of the survivors of Division 4 don't know how to deal with the loss. Makima simply begins to strategize their next move. Kobini tells herself to quit public safety so she doesn't end up like her friend that she saw die in front of her. And Denji is confused. The first person in his life that truly called herself a friend of his is gone, and yet he feels nothing. And there's this panel of him simply asking himself, did he lose the most human parts of himself when his heart was replaced? The Katana Man arc is really the first time in the story where the gravity of reality hits. People in this world die in an instant, and the creatures that take those lives get stronger by the day. This is a harsh world filled with devastation and ruin. However, the survivors of this assault now all have one thing they want to achieve: revenge. The final couple chapters of the Katana Man arc are simply put everything I love about Chainsaw Man sewn together in an absolute insane emotional roller coaster of a climax. And just, my god dude, I could go on and on about how many significant moments there are littered through this arc. The introduction of multiple fiends like Power, each with their own personality, to make up the new Division 4 led by Kashibe fighting a bunch of zombies, Aki managing to accept Himeno's death and move on, the fight against Katana Man, or the incredibly serene panel of just the angel devil looking out at the horizon. So many great moments that could easily be examined on their own. And while yeah, a lot is happening all at the same time, it never feels overwhelming, and this is going to sound really repetitive, but that's just something Fujimoto is really good at, creating multiple plot points and having them resolved all at once without making one of them feel rushed or incomplete. And all of these fights and resolutions come together at the end to form a climactic ending that I have never seen before, where a teenager and a full-grown man kick a man in the nuts as a competition. And it is absolutely beautiful. Look at these two people, one born out of poverty and one out of trauma. Look at the way that even after all this pain they have suffered through, they smile, they laugh, they enjoy the moment with each other. They make memories, and most importantly, they grow closer together through their pain. Oh, and whoever makes Katana Man screams the loudest wins. This is what Chainsaw Man is about. It's a story about people connecting with one another no matter how different they seem on the surface. It's a story about how even in the harshest moments in life, as long as they are confronted head on by you and the people you love, you can get through them. You can overcome them. This is a requiem from us to you, and that's a really important message I think a lot of people need to hear. That is the humanity of Chainsaw Man. Wait, hold on, there's a lot more pages here. One thing you begin to realize about Chainsaw Man is that it is this huge bombastic series about the subtlety of living, and the first couple arcs show you that. The introduction to the story shows how easily we take life for granted. The Bat Devil arc lets us see how sexual contact doesn't mean much without intimacy behind it. The Eternity Devil arc lets us watch as these people begin to care for one another, and the Katana Man arc shows how cruel life can be and how it is up to us to overcome those obstacles. These are 4 arcs that make you understand at least a little what kind of story Chainsaw Man is, and the thing is, while this could all come together as a complete story, the past 32 minutes I spent talking about this was just the first third of the manga. I hope you see why this video took so long to come out now. What? No, it's not because I made a long script, it's because I started Persona 5. After dealing with Katana Man, Makima invites Denji to go on a date to the movies, in which they will binge watch each and every single movie available. And throughout the experience, most of the movies they watch suck. Some are boring, some are too long, and some they just don't seem to enjoy. And while the crowd around them seems to have fun in each and every single one, both Denji and Makima have no reaction to each movie. However, eventually during the final movie, they both feel something special. Denji begins to tear up. After thinking that he didn't have a heart, he finally realizes that he does. He's capable of feeling real human emotions. And embarrassed, he turns to Makima, hoping to not seem weak, but she's quietly crying too. What they are watching is heart-wrenching but also something impactful. Both of them will remember this moment forever, and the reason why I'm talking about this moment is because it really goes to show that it is possible that a certain piece of media can make us feel emotions that are sincere, are beautiful, are unique, and in a way, Chainsaw Man itself is one of those pieces of media for me. The Bomb Devil arc is destruction and annihilation incarnate, and that might sound like a little bit of an exaggeration, but the fact is, this arc is non-stop constant carnage between a devil hybrid and Denji, but it also manages to pull on your heartstrings little by little. Rez is a girl Denji connects with at a coffee shop she works at, and as he slowly realizes what loving somebody truly means, Rez realizes that maybe her dream of getting the infamous Chainsaw Devil's heart isn't all that important to her anymore, eventually leading to her asking Denji to run away with her so that they can live a fulfilling life together. And there's this really melancholic moment where Rez points out how messed up Denji's situation is. He's a miner working for the government to kill devils that can crush him in seconds, but Denji is comfortable, so no matter how messed up it is, he's happy with that being his purpose. He is okay with being a dog for the government. And so realizing Denji won't give up his dream, she doesn't give up on hers either, transforming into the Bomb Devil. And for the next couple chapters, a horrifying bloodbath ensues. People die, buildings get leveled, and blood flows. And in these chapters, Fujimoto knows when to make a joke, go insane, show something traumatic, and punch you in the feels. And this is all compressed together to make something equally fun and horrific. And it's a mix that makes you understand that this is a clash of ideas and dreams. However, after it's all said and done, Denji and Rez just sit by each other. Tired, so tired of fighting until they just talk. Wondering why he kept her alive, Rez asks why he saved her, to which Denji responds he doesn't want her death to haunt him. And Denji turns to her and asks if she's still willing to run away together. And Rez, understanding that even if they do, the connection between them will never be the same as it was, simply walks away out of Denji's life. Maybe he'll see her at the coffee shop? Later in the day, Rez begins to question why she didn't kill Denji when she had the chance, and she realizes that she genuinely likes him. She was excited to go to school too because she's never been as well. She wanted to have a real human connection, and so she turns around and walks back to the cafe. Maybe they can start over in a way. Even though they don't have that same innocent childlike connection as before, maybe they can still love each other for who they are. Maybe they can live out that new dream of hers. Maybe the International Assassins arc, similar to the Bomb Devil arc before it, is pure insanity. The news of there being a Chainsaw Devil hybrid has reached the rest of the world. Denji is now a wanted man, and so all the countries send over skilled assassins for one reason: to kill Denji and get his heart. And here we are introduced to the three brothers who are immortal: Quan Chi and her murderous fiends, and the legendary Santa Claus, a murderous being that somehow can make people obey their every command, turning them into zombies, and now set on a quest to kill a child. There are so many new characters thrown into this story, and they each have a unique personality and a story behind them, and that's not even considering the main cast. All in all, there are over 30 characters in this arc. I repeat, 30 characters in this arc, and yet each and every one feels integral to the story. And the level of sheer insanity that follows should be incomprehensible, but yet it is so well done you understand what is happening even if you don't think you do. When people ask me what I am most excited to see adapted, the first thing that comes to mind is the Assassin's arc, just for the level of cinematic carnage and adrenaline seeping out of every single moment. Quan Chi's hyperactive speed, Yoshida's Octopus Devil, the encounter with the Darkness Devil, the moment where Denji sets himself on fire, all of these moments and more are just so electrifying to watch unfold. And again, these are just still images made to provide the illusion of motion. So just imagine how insane this will all be in the anime. Just picture with me for a brief moment. This arc also has some of the funniest moments in the entire series. Like, remember those brothers who believed to be immortal? Well, they just start dying, like, left and right, and it's just so darkly comedic as they swear up and down that they're immortal, but they just keep dying, and it's God, I don't know, it's just something about it, man. But even as comedic as they seem, they're also a tragic case. Like Aki, they lost their family to the Gun Devil's attacks, and when all of the brothers are dead but one, he breaks down realizing that the only family he had left is now gone. And there are just so many subtle moments like this spiked throughout this bizarre, ludicrous arc that not only add to the new characters, but provide depth to the old ones, such as Kashibe and Quan Chi's relationship, Kobini and the Violence Fiend's charming friendship, or Aki beginning to rely more on the people around him. There is so much story here, and the fact that none of it feels rushed or incomplete is an absolute miracle. Very few writers are able to do that and keep you invested, but Fujimoto is able to do so flawlessly. And you know what the funny thing is? everything I just told you are the most calm moments of this arc. The characters, I kid you not, get sent to hell. I repeat, they get sent to hell by Santa Claus, where they fight the Darkness Devil, and when they finally escape, Hanchi transforms into a devil hybrid and completely annihilates everything in her path. This whole ordeal is insane, and it's an absolute blast from start to finish, and it shows that Fujimoto knows how to just have fun with the story, and the Assassin's arc is the one where you can tell he had a blast writing, drawing, and creating this insanity, and in turn you have fun with this arc as well, and it's needed because everything that comes after this arc is an absolute nightmare. The encounter with the Darkness Devil took out most of the fiends in Division 4, with few surviving the ordeal. Kobeni resigned, Aki lost an arm, and Power started having nightmares following the whole experience. And what I love about these couple chapters is that while they show the harsh reality of being a devil hunter, it also shows how far these three people have come and how even after all of this, they still take care of each other. Denji comforts Power when she's in distress, and Aki realizes that he cares about these two people in his life. These two people Aki despised when he first met them have become a part of his life. They're family to him now. Aki decides to take a trip to visit his family's grave, bringing the two with him, and the entire time Denji and Power are absolute little nightmares for him, but instead of Aki resenting them for it, he's okay with it, saying that the whole trip is depressing every year, but this time he couldn't focus on it due to having to deal with them. And there's this sentimental moment between Aki and Denji where they just watch the snow fall, and it's just such a serene and calm scene that really shows how much of a bond these two have formed. When they return, Aki puts in a request to have him, Denji, and Power withdraw from the attack on the Gun Devil because it's not important to him anymore. Revenge isn't what he wants now. He just wants to simply enjoy the little time he has left with the people he loves. There's always been this little weird dysfunctional family in the middle of the story, this bizarre group of people living together and becoming more human together, but these chapters really make you understand that. These are people that love each other and care for one another. These are people that have bonded over food, over their differences, over their respective traumas and fears. These are people that have grown not individually, but together. Makima eventually calls the three together to tell them something. Something about the Gun Devil. Something unknown to most people. The Gun Devil has already been captured. It was the day it appeared. Its body is split between nations, meaning that the Gun Devil cannot be killed. It's not a monster the world is trying to eliminate. It's a political tool used to strengthen nations across the world. The operation against the Gun Devil isn't an operation. It's the beginning of a war that cannot be won. Aki's whole reason to join public safety turned out to be worthless. He was a boy used by the government to put his life in danger for nothing. And afterwards, Aki just takes a walk with the Angel Devil, the two forming a friendship throughout the story, and the Angel Devil simply tells Aki to run away. Run away from all the chaos that's about to happen, to run away from the death he knows is days away. And then he turns his head and sees Makima down at the beach, just standing there. And curiously, he approaches her, wondering why the day before the war she's just looking out across the ocean. And Aki breaks down, not wanting to see those he loves die. He asks Makima to help him. His brother's death was his fault. He doesn't want to make the same mistake twice. And so Makima simply tells him to make a contract with her. Wait, that doesn't make any sense. She's human. You can't make a contract with a human. And then the Angel Devil remembers something. Something haunting. Something dreadful. We see the President of the United States staring out of a window looking down at the city of Washington, D.C. The people are so small and minuscule, so disposable and delicate, so fragile and insignificant. The time has come. He summons something horrible. Is this the right thing to do? It's the only thing I can do. And with the voice of genuine fear, he exchanges a year off of the lifespan of every person in America, and in turn, the Gun Devil will kill Makima, the Control Devil. The Gun Devil hits the coast of Japan, and the following carnage that ensues is so great that the manga has to slow down time so that it can picture that carnage. Hundreds upon hundreds, thousands upon thousands of people are killed in seconds, their names cluttering the very pages of the manga. Families are blown to pieces, people die before they realize it, people watch horrified for 1 second and then see darkness the next. And the entire time, this being, this horrific monstrosity of a creature that's not even complete, keeps on firing. The names keep going and going and going to the point where you can barely follow what's happening anymore, and then it stops for a brief second. The Gun Devil looks at Makima and fires, and when he does, you simply see the bullet into her brain and the text above her simply saying, Makima's 29th death recorded. People watch as they see gunshots rain down from above. This is hell, they think, and they would be right. And then after all of this continuous, never-ending bloodshed, it stops.
You will be killed by the chainsaw. You prefer the town mouse? You will die in the worst way. Do not open the door.
Aki wakes up in a field. It's snowing. He's the same age he was when his family was taken from him. Denji is there as well. It's cold outside, the snow is powdery, and Aki gets an idea. So he picks up some snow, compacts it into a ball, and throws it. Maybe they can have fun, maybe they can make memories, maybe they can... Standing at the door is Aki. No, not Aki, but the Gun Devil that has taken over. The snowball lands. An explosion causes Denji to fly out of the house. Aki follows. He picks up another snowball and throws it. An entire alleyway gets leveled. A family pleads for their lives. Aki throws a snowball. People scream and run in fear. Aki throws a snowball. Denji yells at him. He begs Aki to turn back into the person he once was. Aki throws a snowball. There is no reasoning with him. There is no Aki left. A snowball fight is all he sees. All he sees is an innocent, childlike game. Aki throws a snowball. It tears Denji in half. People beg him not to die. They give him blood to regenerate. Denji stands back up. The atmosphere of the now desolate streets covered in blood surrounds him. Aki picks up another snowball but stops. Denji's crying, tears streaming down his cheeks. He holds a snowball and with a shaky hand, throws it.
I remember after I finished the manga for the first time, I simply looked up the words Chainsaw Man on the internet, and one of the videos I found was a 39-second video by a YouTuber named Shefiev. And it's really hard to describe what this video makes me feel because on the surface it's just a video made in Blender. It's just a 39-second long Blender project. However, the entire time you're watching this, something just doesn't feel right. You can't place your finger on it, but you know it just doesn't feel right or normal or human. It feels surreal and like a nightmare you can't wake up from. And it's this surreal emptiness that I felt watching that video that just made me stare out into space for however many minutes it was. And I wasn't even thinking about anything, I was just comprehending what I just felt. And one of the things my mind went to were these chapters. The Gun Devil arc. That surreal emptiness I felt while reading these chapters is what I felt watching this video. Like that video, the Gun Devil arc feels like this surrealistic nightmare, and just, my god, just writing this script at 4:50 p.m. on Sunday, February 12th is exhausting. Not me recording this, but me writing the words that this person, me, is speaking through. I mean, I'm just reading the script right here. I don't know, maybe I'm just tired. While writing the words you're hearing now, I'm supposed to be recording the lines of dialogue where I'm talking about how Denji has a new purpose, how he has a new life to live for, how he has a purpose. And just, I don't know, man. I'll probably put on some fake happy voice to make it sound all inspiring and stuff, but like, I'm just tired. I'm just tired, man. The video is playing on loop to my right, and every time it plays, I just feel my head hurts. I just feel empty and less human just writing this. And normally I would write over all of this and form a coherent form of sentences, but I don't think I will. I think I'll keep this in. You know what? I think that's about as good as I could have done trying to capture that feeling. I think I'm gonna take a break. I think I'm going to just eat something, maybe watch a TV show, maybe read a chapter or two of Berserk, and then I'm going to record some lines that you've already heard by this point.
Most people have moved on from Aki's death. Denji in Power got half of his will and used it to buy a new apartment and other things to keep their minds off of the emptiness both of them feel. And for Power, it worked pretty well, but Denji can't get rid of that feeling, get rid of that truth that he was at least partly responsible for Aki's death. Aki cried over everybody, but nobody cried for him. And the soullessness Denji feels is just unbearable for somebody like him. The emptiness of loss is crushing him. And then Makima appears. She feels his hands. She comments on how cold they are. She invites him over to her place. Upon arriving, several dogs excitedly greet the two entering the apartment, but something is just uncanny about all of this. We know what Makima can do. We know that she isn't this guardian angel over Denji, and even though this is just an innocent hangout with two people, it doesn't feel that way. There's nothing noticeably wrong with the situation, it just doesn't feel right. And then Makima asks Denji what he wishes for. He killed the gun devil like she asked, and in return, whatever Denji wants shall be granted. And instead of wishing for a date with Makima or something meaningful like forming a human connection, he wishes to become her dog. He doesn't want to think for himself anymore. He doesn't want to get attached to people anymore. He doesn't want to have the rights to make decisions for himself anymore. And Makima understands and tells Denji that her dogs obey her every command, and he complies. And so Makima's first command to Denji, this guy who is going through the emotions of loss and emptiness for the first time in his life, is to kill Power. They hear a knock. Makima invited Power over. Makima tells Denji to open the door, and without thinking, he does, and Power just stands there embarrassed with a birthday cake in hand. It's Denji's birthday tomorrow, he almost forgot. And for a brief moment, there's a look on Power's face, and it's not anger, it's not pride, it's genuine and sweet. It's almost like this inhuman creature has learned how to become more human through Denji, and Makima takes that. Power's blood lands on his face as he watches, horrified. What is happening? The last person that truly cared about Denji is dead, her corpse in two and her heart silent. Is this a dream? Am I dreaming, Makima? Makima understands that Denji is confused about why she's doing this, why she is taking everything he loves away from him. And so she simply sits down and explains. Denji formed a contract with Pochita, a contract that cannot simply be broken. And so Makima needed Denji to get to the point where he himself doesn't want to live by his own command anymore. She needed Denji to become a dog. And so she took this boy who had nothing to lose and gave him everything. She gave him good food to eat, she gave him a bed to sleep on, she gave him a family that he bonded with and began to care for over time. And then one by one, she took those things away from him. She took away his freedom during the Assassin's arc, not only for his protection, but so that he would feel restrained. She took what he considered to be his older brother and turned him into a monster who had no control over anything he was doing. And now she murders the only person left in Denji's life that cared about him. The only one left he cared about. If he gets married and has kids, she won't let them live long. What do you think happened to Rez? If he manages to move on from the grief and guilt he feels now and make new friends, she will kill them. Makima will make this boy suffer an endless amount of pain for the rest of his life so that she can have under her possession the one thing she has always wanted. The hero of hell. Denji, due to believing himself lesser than Makima, falls under her control before Kishibe and his team of devil hunters attack her, hoping to end whatever she is hoping to do. However, Pochita, in a way, is still alive inside Denji, and so seeing that he has ceased living for himself altogether, takes over Denji's body, becoming the one thing that devils fear the most. The Chainsaw Devil, the hero of hell, a fearsome force of sheer nature and violence. The last thing devils hear before dying in hell and being reborn on Earth is the revving of a chainsaw. This is that chainsaw. And so with the Chainsaw Devil on the loose, with the primary goal to get as far away from Makima as possible, Kishibe confronts her, holding her at gunpoint. However, Makima asks something dreadful. Do you remember what the Nazis did to the Jews? And Kishibe simply looks at her confused and mutters the word, Nazis? This is a world where some of the most horrific parts of history have been erased from existence. Nuclear weapons, the Holocaust, the Mount Hio eruption, these are moments that have had their respective devils erased from existence, meaning that each and every trace of these events have disappeared along with the devil. And the one creature responsible is the Chainsaw Devil. Whatever devil the Chainsaw Devil eats in hell, that devil along with the fear surrounding it is simply eradicated from existence, Makima's goal being to use the Chainsaw Devil to create her own perfect world. A reality where death and suffering do not exist. That is the importance of the Chainsaw Devil. That is the importance of Pochita. This is a creature that forced itself to become the most harmless thing it could to avoid being used by the government. And the Chainsaw Devil rips apart everything, desperately trying to grasp human concepts like eating and taking care of others to the best of its ability, while absolutely destroying each and every single one of Makima's controlled corpses. And the entire time you're reading these chapters, you can't help but feel this unstoppable, mysterious force of nature throughout this invincible being. This boy unknowingly had the heart of a mythical legend. However, eventually, after hours of fighting, he's beaten so badly to the point of where he lies in his own pool of blood. Tired, so tired. This is the end. And it is! Friendly strangers on the internet, thank you so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. Power wakes up with Pochita next to her. She's confused. She's dead. Pochita explains that some of Power's blood is still a part of Denji due to an agreement between the two before. And so she's reborn as the blood devil from the little bit of blood Denji has left to give, and Power fights as long as she can until she's forced to run away with Denji, and the reason why she saves him is because Denji was her first friend. The two just sit in a dumpster bonding in her last moments. Power is dead. Power will soon be gone. When she's reborn, she won't remember anything from her past life. And so Power makes one last contract with Denji. She will give him the last of her blood, and he will find the reborn blood devil and do the same thing he did to her. Become her friend, and you realize these two love each other like a brother and sister would. Throughout this whole story, we've seen Power grow from an irritable and narcissistic creature to more of a person that cares about the people in her life. And then Denji just wakes up alone. He's now all alone. After being rescued by Kishibe, Denji tries to create a plan to bypass Makima's immortality, and when pondering what he should do, he realizes something. Even after everything Makima's done to him, he still likes her. And this panel broke me, dude, because it makes you understand what abuse feels like. Makima didn't care about him, but she was the first person to show Denji affection, to show him love and care, and even if those feelings for him were never real, they were to him. Eventually, Denji and Makima stand face to face, and Denji simply asks, in this universe of Makimas, would bad movies be a thing? And she responds no, to which Denji says, guess I gotta kill you now, cause he's realized, without the awful horrible moments that will tear you to pieces and break you down, you can never truly appreciate the good ones. The moments that create memories, the moments that put a smile on your face thinking about them, the moments of pure happiness. And in Makima's perfect world, you wouldn't be able to truly appreciate those moments. Without the bad, there's no complete understanding of what's good. Denji finds a way to bypass Makima's immortality in some interesting ways to say the least, but when she's reincarnated as a child, all her memories as Makima forgotten, she's entrusted into Denji's care. He asks for her name and she responds Nayuta. Maybe Denji can raise this child differently from the government. Maybe Denji can teach her how to love human beings on an equal level, with Pochita in a dream giving him a single piece of advice to raise the girl. Give her lots of hugs. Remind her that she matters. Remind her that she is cared for. Remind her that she is loved. That is what this story is about. It's not about a group of people trying to kill creatures, it's about what it means to be a human being. It's about what it means to be alive. It's about the bonds people form with each other, and how without the horrible moments in life, the good ones wouldn't mean anything. And I mean, look at the runtime of this video. I clearly like this series about some dude with a chainsaw stuck in his head, but the reason why I love it is because it's so much more than that. It's a reflection of life and the reality of it. And watching through the anime and hearing some of my friends' thoughts on each episode filled me with a sense of euphoria and put a bittersweet smile on my face. And you know what? If 97 chapters of drawings with words and boxes can make me feel those emotions, that should tell you all you really need to know. That is what this series represents to me. That is the humanity of Chainsaw Man. Friendly strangers on the internet, thank you so much for watching this through the end, and even more so for being incredibly patient with me on this one. It's been well over 3 months since the last real video, and I just wanted to say thank you all for the support. This was probably the most interesting, the most frustrating, and the most enjoyable editing experience I have ever had, and I hope that I managed to entertain you guys through this thing. Anyways, I'm gonna wrap this up. Take care of yourselves, take care of others, and I will see you next time.
デンジ、お前も好きだったろ。
何のつもりだ、てめえ。